Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be here today and tuning in. My name is Angela Clement, and I am the host of Awaken Your Soul's Journey. This one, Finding Meaning Through Loss, or After Loss, I guess I titled it. I have a very special guest with me today. Her name is Janet Doerr. And Janet is a medical intuitive, and she is an ascension guide and a master energy healer. And people who work with Janet have reported rapid improvement in health conditions, more state of peacefulness, empowerment, and even improving relationships. And so all kinds of great things coming from Janet. And I know you're going to want to learn more about her and probably connect with her. So thank you for taking the time to come today, Janet, and to be here.
My pleasure, Angela. I look forward to sharing together with you.
Yeah. So I did a very short introduction. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to just tell a little bit more about yourself and what it is that you do.
Thank you. So I'll tell about where I came from. I had a fairly traditional life, doing management training and consulting, then joined corporate life and worked my way up through various different business management functions and on with, I am 67, so I'll reveal my age and thus can say I've had in excess of 25 years of career in corporate. And through that, I recognized I was perceptive, but I never thought of myself as doing psychic work or healing or anything. In fact, I didn't even know what those things really were at that time. And my own journey got my attention with a health issue. I got osteoarthritis in both my hips, had one replaced, and that was my soul wake-up call. And then as I thought about the prospect of having a second total hip surgery, I also became feeling out of resonance with my work career any longer, and so left, and by mutual agreement with the company and then I started pursuing my health, and in the process remembered, wait a minute, I can heal myself. I don't have to have surgery. And so that started a deep dive in learning to meditate, because I've never done that before. About 12 years ago, I started my daily meditation practice. And in the process, I went deeper and deeper, and a lot of emotion came up. And among the emotion that came up was grief. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit, since that's the focus for the summit that you're kindly offering to people. But in the process, what I found was I did my own work of releasing energy and clearing trauma and releasing beliefs that didn't serve me, and then awakened to powerful gifts of perception. So I am now medical intuitive and energy healer, and people contact me with something going on in their body, and we track the energy together to the root cause. Why is their body presenting them this opportunity for going within and growth and healing? And often it's releasing emotion that they haven't processed. Can be past life trauma, can be ancestral patterns. So that's my work now, full-time. I serve people in over 43 countries of the world, and I've done about 1,500 sessions over the last 6 or 7 years with people. So it's quite fun, quite rewarding. And as I say to my husband, well, I helped another, well, I at first I would say, well, I brought another client to tears. But in fact, what I do is, by holding such a field of love and compassion as we work together, then people feel safe to release the emotion. And so we unpack it and release it and fill back up with energy so that they leave sessions feeling lighter, brighter, and more at peace.
I love that. That's amazing. And you've done this over and over so many times. You've got so much experience to share. It's amazing. So how would you define grief, I guess is my question.
Well, when a person or an animal companion that we've cherished and spent much time with and loved upon and received love back leaves the physical, leaves their body, and goes off to continue as a soul, but in a non-physical form. It's very natural to experience a sense of deep loss, because we used to be able to pick up the phone and call that person, or the cat that you cherished would jump up on your lap and you had a morning routine of having your tea while the cat would come and you'd pet the cat. So whatever it might be, whether it's an animal companion or someone dear to you, another fellow human, we do have a great sense of loss. And at first we may think, oh, I'm going to pick up the phone and call. I want to speak to this person and tell her about. And then it's like, oh, that's right. No one will answer the phone. She's not there. And so we then have that, the sadness that comes up. So it's normal and natural to experience the emotion of loss. It is. And we need to allow it. Grief tends to go just deeper than sadness. And it can go really deep. The loss of a dear friend, for example, that you knew for 20 years, you might experience one set of emotion. You might go deeper, should it be your own child, for example, that now has left, particularly when you had no warning, and it's sudden, and it just seems, a lot of people will say, this isn't fair. They were supposed to outlive me. So lots comes up for people. And so sadness to deep grief, we all experience a range of that, and whatever a person is experiencing is perfect, their own journey, and may be very different from the next person for even similar circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm interested. I know I'm sure you've worked with people in grief, and so what would be the process, for somebody that came to you with grief? What would be the process for working with them?
Well, often it differs, it really varies with the person and
Right.
what's going on. I'm always helping a person feel safe to go into their heart and allow themselves to feel the emotion that they haven't, in some cases, dared to feel. And some people will say, I don't understand. The person is gone and I can't cry. Well, usually in my presence, we can solve that pretty quick. and in creating a container where they can feel deeply safe, and to understand that to not let that energy up and out can have very severe health impacts. So that might be one person. Another person may be saying, gosh, I'm crying and I can't stop. And we check and go, well, yes, they're still processing their own grief, but I'll tell my own story. We had two cats that were 20 and 22 years of age. And when the first one passed, long hair, sweet little bundle of a kitty that would sit on my lap and purr. And when she passed, I felt such deep grief, and it just kind of went on. And I thought, my goodness, the level of emotion. She was a very sweet kitty. And she had been a part of our lives for I think it was either 20 or 22 years. The sibling was the one that was the other set of years. And I thought to myself, this is deeper than the energy I would expect to feel from the passing of one animal, despite having been a cherished animal. So then when the second one then passed, about 9 months later, somewhere in that time frame, again, more grief, but it wasn't as intense. And then a dog, a retriever lab cross that we had, his hips fell apart, and he got very, very uncomfortable and couldn't walk and was in a lot of pain. And he told me, he actually spoke to me. By that time I was able to hear him, and he said, I don't want to live anymore. And so we had to make the decision to help him cross the Rainbow Bridge. And so again, deep grief, but each time it wasn't as intense, even though I was probably more deeply bonded to the lab cross than to the other cats. So that helped me understand that actually what had been happening was I had suppressed a lot of energy in my body and hadn't allowed myself to feel it. And it was past lives, other timelines, ancestral grief. It was like a whole lot of grief. And so the first time when one cat passed, and I thought, I don't understand. This is like a well that doesn't seem to have a bottom, but it does. And so for a person who might find themselves doing a lot of releasing and a lot of crying, then that's just an indication to how much of that sadness energy was in their energy field. And usually it's out of sight, out of mind, subterranean. We didn't even know it was there. Although in my case, I had some clues. Earlier in life, I felt very uncomfortable the few times that I was asked to go attend a funeral or a memorial service, and I would get quite overwhelmed. Well, I didn't understand at the time, I was also very empathic. And so not only did I have my own grief trapped in my body that I hadn't accessed yet, and this is from other timelines, past lives, as some would call it, but also because I was very empathic, I was able to feel all the people in the room experiencing this service with me and all of their grief. And I found it just quite overwhelming. And so I think as a result of that, it's like, ooh, I don't want to, this well of grief energy. I'm afraid to go into it for fear there is no bottom. But you find, at least my experience was, as I allowed myself to feel the energy, and what does it feel like? We all know. It comes up, you cry, you may be sobbing, and have experiences of remembering precious moments, and then realizing that there will not be any more moments with that particular person in this time frame. And when you accept that and you come to peace with it, then it subsides. So how long should the grieving process last? As long as you need it to. There is no rule. And sometimes people are not as aware that people can bond just as deeply with an animal companion as a person and experience that just as deeply. So if a person is, if you're grieving the loss of an animal companion, just honor yourself. That's real. That was another beautiful, bright, light being, just in a different kind of body. And that being came to walk with you on the earth, to be your companion on the earth. Some people call our animal companions pets, and I did as I was growing up. And then, we would say we're the pet owner. And a very enlightened person helped me see that, no, these are great beings of light that through mutual agreement choose to walk with us and act as a companion to us on our journey. So it's more, there's a greater level of awareness of the animal kingdom when one refers to our dear beloved animal companions as companions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that, because I lost a dog. We had kind of a similar situation where we had to help him, and that happened, just a couple of months before Blaine died, and then the cat a couple of months after. And both of them had been with us for over 15 years. They were long time companions, as you say. and yeah, there was grief that went with both of those. And I still thank my dog for walking me through the grief that I felt with him, because it was almost like, I don't want to say like, it was like to prepare me for what was to come, and how this shedding of emotion and allowing it to come up was okay, and that we could move through it this way. And yeah,
Yes.
I believe he was there to show me that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I felt the same way, that two cats and then the dog. By that time, I had more experience. I go, okay, I know this is going to come up. I'm going to sob, 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 and that's okay. I'm going to go drink water. And then I learned, now go do something to fill myself back up with lovely frequencies. So I'd eat some foods that I learned actually help the brain chemistry to move out of the processing of grief. So I'd learned, oh, a spinach salad with garbanzo beans and pomegranate seeds would give me a perk up. And then I'd go outside, take a walk, get some sun, and replenish myself. And then I'd be able to be on an even keel until 2 days later, here comes another
Yeah.
wave. But all of this, in my case, did prepare me. And so then when my mother was close to end of life, and she'd been telling us for years, you do not resuscitate. I've had a full life. And she wrote out one of those DNR, do not resuscitate orders, and told the whole family, I'm just letting you know, if anybody finds me on the floor in my apartment or whatever, don't wake me up. I'm, happy to pass. And if I have to go to the hospital, fine, but I do not allow any invasive procedures or anything to extend my life. So, and she'd say, there's nothing left on my bucket list. I've had a full life. I'm not, I'm not waiting around for anything. So I had already accepted that. And then she, through a series of events and bladder infections and more antibiotics and all of that, creating kind of a downward spiral in her health. Then we got to the point where she was hospitalized, and I was the person to arrange for her to have some hospice care and where to be during the time that was happening. It was all quite magical, actually, the synchronicities and what played out. But one of the things, about 2 weeks before she passed, I talked with her and I said, so Mom, I'm now more aware, and I'm aware that after you pass, we'll be able to communicate somehow, but I don't know how that's going to be. So I've been kind of thinking and creating and playing. And I thought, well, since I got you emerald perfume, Mother's Day, Christmas, for 20 years, whenever she was out, that was her signature fragrance that she wore. And I said, so once you've already passed, but then you show up in a room near me or something, maybe you could just create a whiff of emerald, and then I would know that you were there. But, I know you don't like being told what to do. So I said, you'll figure something out to get my attention if you want to do something else, like change all the clocks or, something that I'm going to go, what's going on here? And then wonder if I'm getting a message. So she, in hospice, we had a lovely place for her to be, and it was just like her apartment. It was perfect. And she passed. And then I called the family to say that she passed. There was a nurse in the room attending to her. And actually, the nurse saw her take her last breath. I was sleeping, and then woke me up and said that she'd passed. So I came over and gave her a hug, and then got on the phone and called my brother and his wife and my husband, who was staying there, and said she passed. So then I went back to get some more sleep. So I fell asleep for a few more hours, and then we were heading down to her apartment because it was an apartment that we needed to get her out of fairly rapidly to make it available to others that needed it, because it was subsidized housing. So we get down there, my husband and I, and get off the elevator and walk. So this is 5 hours after she passed. walk down the hall, and when we turn the corner and we're in front of her door, here's this smell of emerald.
Mm.
And I said to my husband, can you smell that? And he says, yes.
Oh,
So she made the smell for me and him. I had never told my husband about this discussion I'd had with my mom. So already, right, 5 hours after she's no longer in the body, she's letting me know, hey, I'm still here as a spirit.
beautiful. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I,
So I'm
yeah.
sorry, please go
No,
ahead,
go
Angela.
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
I share that story to help people really connect with the truth that we leave form. The spirit's eternal and it lives on. And we come, and for a while we're in a body. And then at some point, we depart the body. But our spirit's eternal and we are able to communicate. If you believe that so, you will find a way. And even if you didn't have a pre-death conversation about how your loved one might show up, uh, you can say, hey, I would love some signs when you're around. We didn't talk about what those might be. Surprise me. Let's have some fun. And your loved one is very likely to provide you some signs. And when you get that sign, then you'll go, proof. They are still a living spirit. They're just in a different form, a higher vibration form. It's also very helpful to remember that it's dense in these bodies that we don to walk on the earth here. And many people at end of life have their bodies gotten weaker. They haven't been able to do as much as they were able to do earlier in their lives. Maybe they've had periods of ill health. Maybe they've had pain. And to remember that they are released from all that, and they now walk in their spirit garb robe, their robe of light, and they get to choose whether they would like to present themselves as a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old. People in the higher realms, they kind of decide, and then they just stay there. And they can just be 40 for the rest of their life if that's what till forever, until they dawn in another body. So when we have this awareness of the afterlife, then you can approach the whole passing with more joy, because you realize, oh, we will be able to communicate. This is not the last time that I chatted with my mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It changes all the thought processes and therefore all the emotions when you have that understanding. And I find for myself, I have that knowledge. I know that he's here, but every once in a while I like to have some confirmation. Like you say, you know it, you believe it, but it feels really good to have some confirmation once in a while. And I do get a fair bit of that. So mm-hmm.
And with another dog that passed more recently, every now and then I see her, in my peripheral vision in the yard running by me. Or we go out to the beach and here she is streaking by on the beach. Those were places that she loved to be with me and run and play with the ball. And as her mobility declined, then that was less and less possible for her to do joyfully. But here she is just roaring by, So then I go, oh, Bailey, you're with me. Oh, that's cool. Thanks for stopping by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so what does healing really look like after a loss? There's people that say that you will grieve for a lifetime. They'll say that, it goes on forever, that you won't get over it. What does it really look like?
Well, all of that is possible if you believe it and you choose that. And so we can extend an emotion. If we say, I'm going to be sad for the rest of my life, well, so be it. That's entirely your choice. And a person may say, I'm not sure when the sense of loss declines or lessens, but it's good to say and claim, I am opening to returning to joy, returning to happiness, returning to life after so-and-so's no longer in my life. And as soon as we say, this is my choice, I choose to have another phase of life that will not include my beloved, whoever that might have been, or my child. You're not ever going to forget them. So a person should know that you don't have to hold on to these lower frequencies of sadness and grief in order to remember. That's not the case. You can release the sadness and grief, and you'll get to the point where you can just remember the joyful moments and the fun things that you did, and the moments when you both laughed so hard you fell over, doubled over laughing. Whatever it is that you treasure, you can remember all of that. Yes, you don't get to hug the person anymore, and that's the truth. They're not here in the physical, but you can experience like a spirit hug, which I can tell you is just a remarkable thing. When a spirit comes to be with you and shares their deep love, you can really have a very tangible experience. So healing is about feeling. What we're feeling, we are healing. And emotion, let's look at the word. It's emotion, energy in motion. So the lower frequencies of we'll go down lower, shame, anger, rage, resentment, lightening up. And we get into the heart energies of sadness and grief, which are higher frequencies than rage and other much lower frequencies. Shame, very low frequency. What is it when I say frequency? That means how fast does the energy move? And so when we are feeling light and bright, and we're bringing in more light, and we're joyful, maybe we're dancing, and you go, I don't understand. I was having such a great morning and feeling so light and bright, and then all of a sudden up comes this wave of sadness. Well, actually what's happening in physics is you were vibrating at a high frequency, a fast energy level, and then this lower frequency sadness and grief, which maybe you haven't processed it all yet, you haven't felt it all, it's vibrating at a somewhat slower frequency in your body, and it starts to move faster because you're rocking, playing and smiling and laughing and doing the dishes while you sing to the world. Well, that's going to cause all the energy in your body to start vibrating faster. The higher frequency wins. So the more fast vibrating energy we have in our body, the lower frequencies start to vibrate, and then they come up. And so that's why people go, I don't understand. I was having a great morning. I was, doing this and that, and I felt so joyful and happy. And the next thing you know, I'm sobbing again. What is this? So in terms of explaining what's actually happening, energy in motion, emotion. And so that energy started to vibrate, and it says, good, breathe, this is coming up. And it comes up and out your mouth, and you cry. I chose to wear purple. Let's see if I can get some violet color.
Yeah.
One of the ways that we can release energy is just be with it. Hold ourselves in compassion and love, and just be present with our presence, our highest level of our God self, called our I am presence, to just be present with yourself and kind and compassionate while you realize, I've got some more emotion to feel. And you feel it and it comes up. As an energy worker, I know to work with the violet flame, this violet color that I chose to wear. And you can say, even if you don't know how to do this, you can say, blaze the violet flame through all that I'm feeling. Blaze the violet flame, blaze the violet flame, blaze the violet flame. And what that will do is take the energy you're feeling, and it will lessen it, because it transmutes it more rapidly up and out and back to source as pure white light. So when I'm doing energy healing with people, one of the reasons why people can have very profound releases and clearings and feel so much lighter and brighter after is because I know how to work with various rays of light and sound vibration in my voice to help people access, spot the energy within them that's trapped, allow themselves to feel safe enough and comfortable enough to let it start rising. And then I work with light tools to transmute the energy and get it spinning and back up to source. And then they go, wow, that felt very intense. And yet in a moment or two, it's over. And then it's complete. So those are some of the ways that we can do healing. And you can heal yourself even without knowing anything of what I just said. Just say, Janet said that if I'm feeling something and it's kind of intense, I can just say, blaze the violet flame through all of this. And you just keep saying, blaze the violet flame, blaze the violet flame. It could be anger. It could be old guilt and shame. And it's vibrating and it's coming up. And you don't want to just sit in all that energy. It's not fun. So you can just say, blaze the violet flame, breathe, hold yourself in compassion. And then this too shall pass.
Wow, I love that. It sounds like a little bit more of a fast track to healing than, sitting in it and waiting for it to release.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. So how do we find meaning after loss?
Well, if we had a beloved person in our life, think about what would they want you to be feeling going forward. And they wouldn't want you to sit and be sad and close all the curtains and sit in a dark room and shut yourself off from life. They had a soul plan to depart at that moment, and they did. And now you have the rest of your life in front of you. So it's very important to say, some people feel, and they move to guilt, especially if it was a partner. And they think, oh, well, I told them I could never love another person. Well, they would want you to love another person. They would want you to allow new relationships, friendships, and a deep one come at the right moment when you're ready, not before. There's no have to rush off and find the next one, but to return to enjoying and allowing life to come in and grace your heart with joy and happiness. So one of the things is to set yourself free and to know that you do not need to have some prescribed period where you wear dark clothing and you don't allow yourself to smile or laugh. Allow yourself, because that's part of the healing. And in fact, the more you allow yourself to laugh and play and turn on the music, it will speed your healing in exactly the way that I described, that the energies you haven't gotten to yet, the emotion, start vibrating and will come up. And so you can actually speed your healing up and your release. And it also helps to be of service in some way when you're ready. A lot of times people go, I just need to go within, be with myself, have quiet time. I don't feel like interacting with other people. And that's honor yourself. If that's what you're feeling, then that's what you should do for yourself. But when you're ready, it's like, well, I don't know what to do next in my life. You might say to Spirit, Mother, Father, God, I'm open to being of service in some way. Please bring me the perfect opportunity. Maybe just a couple hours a week. And you find that the moment that you choose to go and be of service and lend your beautiful love and heart and compassion to another, in that day when you're doing that, you don't feel any of your own concerns. You're able to focus on another, and that can be tremendously healing.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So tell us about your free gift.
I put together a gift offer where I teach people how to transform their energy step by step, and therefore transform their health. So I put together a free gift that's 5 steps to transform your energy, transform your health. And that gift offer will be noted at the bottom of this page. Angela tells me you'll see the link below the video player here that you'll be able to click on and receive that. And in receiving that gift, you'll then be on my mailing list, and you'll be able to hear other places I'm speaking, or learn about my YouTube channel where I've got other recordings of helpful wisdom and energy healing self that you can do yourself and support yourself. And you'll be able to learn, of course, more about how to work with me if you would like deeper help.
Excellent. Yeah, and I encourage people to sign up for that free gift and to check out all that you have to offer. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we go?
Just in my own experience, where I was afraid to feel the grief, and I was very empathic. So because I still had some grief in my body, I could feel others. Be aware that sometimes what you're feeling is not all yours, and you're feeling energy of other people. And that can help you to go, this too will pass. And just focus on your own healing and your own remembrances and let it come up. What we're feeling, we're healing.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you again so much for taking the time. I really appreciate everything that you've shared today. It's been magical, really.
And thank you, Angela, for being the gift that you are and offering this to all those who will listen to all of your beautiful speakers and talks. I'm sure it will make a big difference to many, many people's lives.
Yeah, thanks so much. And thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.